What would you do if the very people who tormented you day after day finally cornered you, dragged you to the edge of a bridge, and laughed as they tried to throw you off? Most people think they know how they'd react, but the truth is, you never really know, until you're the one standing at the edge. Sophie wasn't born to stand out. At least, that's what she believed. She was the kind of girl who preferred library corners over loud cafeterias, sketching in her notebook while the rest of the class laughed in groups. She was thoughtful, kind, and had a gentleness that was rare. But in high school, gentleness didn't make you friends. It made you prey. The bullies had started small. Names muttered under their breath, cruel smirks when she raised her hand in class. Then came the pranks, books stolen, her drawings ripped apart. But cruelty grows like fire when no one puts it out. And before long, Sophie was living in the shadow of the tyrants who ruled her school. One of them, Brooke, had a voice sharp enough to cut glass and a heart that seemed to find joy only in other people's pain. She and her crew, 3 others who followed her every move, had made Sophie their target. That Friday night, Sophie thought she was safe. She had just finished her shift at the small diner on Main Street, still wearing her apron, her sneakers damp from the kitchen floor. She walked the long road home, her sketchbook tucked under her arm. The bridge was quiet, the river below whispering like it always did. But headlights flared behind her. Doors slammed. Laughter echoed. There she is. Before Sophie could run, they surrounded her. Brooke's smirk glowed under the yellow streetlight. Walking home alone again. You must like being a ghost, Brooke sneered. Sophie's hands clutched her sketchbook tighter. Just let me go, she whispered. But whispers never worked with tyrants. They grabbed her arms. She struggled, but they dragged her toward the rail. Her shoes scraped against the pavement, her breath breaking into sharp sobs. You think you're better than us with your little drawings, one of them jeered. No one would miss you. And then her sketchbook slipped from her hands, pages scattering into the wind like white birds. The river roared below. Sophie's feet left the ground. With one cruel shove, she was falling. The cold water hit like cement, stealing the air from her lungs. She sank, her body tumbling in the current, darkness pressing in on all sides. Panic clawed at her chest. She wanted to scream, but the water filled her mouth. For one terrifying moment, she believed they were right, maybe no one would miss her. Maybe she was nothing more than the quiet girl who never fit. But then, something inside her broke. Or maybe, something woke up. A fire lit in her chest, a voice that didn't sound like fear at all but like power. It said, not like this. Not tonight. Not ever again. And Sophie kicked. The water that had felt like chains now felt like fuel. Sophie's arms cut through the waves, her legs burning with strength she never knew she had. The memories of her father teaching her to swim came rushing back, his steady hands guiding her through the lake, his voice saying, the water isn't here to end you, Sophie. It's here to carry you. She fought upward. Her chest screamed for air, but her will was louder. And then, she broke the surface. Air flooded her lungs as she gasped, the night sky spinning above her. She treaded water, hair plastered to her face, and turned toward the bridge. The tyrants stood frozen, their laughter gone. Phones that had been raised to record now trembled in shaky hands. They had expected screams, silence, maybe guilt later, but not this. Not Sophie, alive, her eyes burning like fire across the distance. Slowly, Sophie swam to the shore. Her body ached, her clothes heavy, but she moved with a purpose that stunned even her. Every step out of that river was like shedding the girl they thought she was. When her feet hit the grass, she rose. Drenched, shaking, but unbroken. She looked up at them, not with fear, but with a calm that made them take a step back. You wanted me gone, she said, voice hoarse but steady. But I'm still here. Stronger than you'll ever be. The crowd that had gathered behind the bullies was silent. Whispers spread. Some recorded, but what they caught wasn't a victim. It was a rebirth. In the days that followed, everything changed. The video spread through school, not as a story of cruelty, but of resilience. Teachers and parents got involved. The tyrants were no longer feared, they were condemned. And Sophie, once invisible, had become a symbol. Not because she wanted attention, but because she had survived what should have destroyed her. But Sophie's real victory wasn't in their punishment. It was in her reflection. She stood before her mirror days later, hair still damp from another swim, this time by choice, at the local pool. And she smiled, faintly, realizing she wasn't the girl clinging to silence anymore. She was proof that even when people try to drag you under, even when the world wants to erase you, there is strength inside you waiting to rise.